Let's all go to the
mall.
Let's all go to the
mall.
Let's all go to the
mall
to get ourselves a
horror.
Find your mother's mother and shove her inside the horse. The door slammed shut. Lily's back pressed against the windowless steel. Her eyes were scrunched shut. She was breathing through her nose like a bull. Her manicured hands balled into fists against the small of her back. Oh, she started, fighting back tears. Oh, fuck that guy. Wow, said Byrne. I didn't even know you knew that word.
It was a bright summer evening in early July, still close enough to the solstice that the sun wouldn't dare relinquish its kingdom to the moon. Such were the joys of northern Alberta, an amount of summer sunshine equal only to the volume of horseflies and mosquitoes. As such, the teens whose families didn't go on vacation somewhere exotic, like Brooks or Yellowknife, tended to hide indoors. I had to look up what an intercessor was because I had no idea. I've never heard that word before. But then, obviously, religion playing a huge role, and the main, I guess, like theme I came back to in your story is the idea of the mall as this like church of capitalism. Was that like very intentional? Kind of.
Yeah, I would say it got there definitely. I had the ending of the story and I kind of knew who Lily was. And then yeah, when I was trying to figure out, I don't want to give too much away, but I was trying to come up with the name for the intercessor, I was going back and forth between a lot of stuff. And then I found that one. And yeah, everything just kind of fell into place around it. The Church of Capitalism, all of that became very intentional after that. Yeah.
So that actually wasn't your inciting idea for the whole thing?
Not directly. I mean, it's like I said, I think I knew what the creature was to some extent.
Yeah.
And then I had been calling her the Queen of the Mall for a long time, and that had too many like fantasy fable, and I didn't like the way that was going. And then yeah, then I honestly was just kind of like looking through a thesaurus trying to come up with better names. And yeah, then I got to the intercessor and I realized what that meant in a religious context, and that's helped fill in the character more and the whole concept of this cult of capitalism and all of that as well. Yeah, you also had a lot of the occult in yours. I mean,
yeah.
Where did that come from? Was it the same?
That's just me, man.
Okay.
Like, listen, you don't move out to where I moved out to because you're a normal person, right? Like, no, it's just this idea that really fascinates me. Like, I'm a big fan of David Lynch. We share the same birthday, not year, but day. And like his whole thing is being able to find like fascination and wonder and often comedy in the mundane. And it's like, well, like what's sillier than the mall goth store where people buy swords? Like, what's sillier than that being like this place where something unholy is actually happening? Because that's what teenagers joke about. So why not make it the actual thing?
How much of that was real, or did you base any of it on actual rituals or things? I don't know a whole lot other than what I've seen on TV. It's always been fascinating, but I don't know anything.
The book that is mentioned, it's not mentioned by name. It's mispronounced on purpose, but that is a real book that exists that people still refer to for magic. The Lesser Keys of Solomon, which it's like literally this list of demons and how to summon them. That part's real. The what's going on, it's not really. But like, also with, I don't want to say the way magic works, because who knows if magic's even a thing, right? A big part of it is just like feeling like you're doing something witchy and cool. So it doesn't matter if it's like quote unquote correct or you're following all the exact steps. What matters is like you feel like you're doing it right. I think another thing that we both kind of touch on in different ways, because you mention the recession, and mine starts with like there being an economic boom, pardon me. And yet we both find the mall to be this kind of desolate place where
Yeah.
people are there, but no one really wants to be there. They just kind of show up.
Mine in particular was definitely built around like all the retail I've worked, and like, you know, you have to go somewhere where the mall is the best chance to get a job as a teenager. And yeah, you just like saw so much that it kind of lost whatever magic the mall might have had. And yeah, you see it as a job and you're just like, oh God, I gotta go and gotta get yelled at all day. And I mean, that's just retail. But I felt like the mall was like the pinnacle of all that. But yeah, yours, you had said it was you know, kind of the boom. So where did you come from to get to that same place?
So I'm born and raised in Edmonton, Alberta, home of the previously largest mall in the world, West Edmonton Mall. And like I never had a mall job. I never had that rite of passage. So for me, the mall was like this big magical place with, you know, flamingos and submarine rides and a water park and like that kind of thing. So it was very much a place of like celebration, but not like good celebration. Like kind of cheesy, boring, not that great under like once you get under the surface of it. And so all of that comes back to like, well, if you want to have a good time around here, you need some cash, right? And then also a thing I hang on to a lot is how malls really end up like corporatizing things, and mom and pop shops go out of business because they just can't compete with, you know, cheaper manufacturing or whatever. And so that's also a thing, right? Like if you have these companies coming in with a lot more money, then the little guys get squeezed out, and again you end up in the same place where no one wants to be there and it's just a job, just a paycheck.
I think that's the other kind of like not beauty, but the liminal that you just touched on, the disorientation. Like I think some of that is to some extent, you know, real, right? Like they've written stories about how like Costco changes where stuff is laid out all the time just to keep people in there constantly looking. And so yeah, I think that what's kind of like why this mall is the perfect place for a horror story, because yeah, you can go there to buy a shirt or whatever, but they're like designed to keep you trapped in a way, which I think kind of comes up in both of our stories a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I don't know. It's like they have their own gravitational force, right? Like
Yeah.
in my notes, I have the idea of like the mall as this eldritch amalgamation of things that are familiar to you, but they're different. And this kind of like concept of I don't know, like locally cosmic horror of because like again, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a line in your story of all the wrong stores are still open, and it's like very much that same vibe. Like there's just something unsettling and weird about a mall.